Okay, yes.
Call the meeting to order. Will the clerk read the meeting notice, please?
Adequate notice of this meeting was provided to the public and the press on January 14th and July 29th, 2022, and was posted at the municipal building in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-7.
They rise and join me in a salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United
States of America
And
to the republic for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty.
Roll call, please.
Vice President Bucieri. Here. Councilmember Fury,
Here.
Councilmember Lynch,
Here.
Councilmember Shortway,
Here.
President Rizzuto.
Here. Before we move on, this week, I'm sure, has been a very difficult week for many, with the remembrance of 9/11. Almost 3,000 citizens who lost their life, our countrymen. And also with the passing of a very, very wonderful lady, a lady who exemplified the term commitment, not only to her subjects, but to her country. Passing of Queen Elizabeth II. And I would just like to ask all to stand and remember those who lost their lives on 9/11 and the Queen who has left us. Thank you. All members of council have received a copy of the bills list. Is there any question?
I have no question. No question.
So I have one here marked. Okay, thank you. Mayor, may we have your comments, please?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. On tonight, my comments will focus on just two items. Item one, in my comments at our last council meeting, I reminded the public that consistent with the mayor and council's vision of making Vernon Township an even better place to live and raise a family of all ages, that we have not forgotten the little ones in our families. I also mentioned a growing list of programs that our Department of Recreation leadership team, consisting of Director of Community Affairs, Ms. Michelle Downtain, and her part-time assistant, Ms. Meg Wanan, had already implemented this year. In addition, I listed some of the new programs that were in the process of being developed and implemented for the future benefit of Vernon families' little ones. One of the programs that I advised would soon be implemented was an Art in the Park series, just for those ages 5 and under. I am proud to announce that on the 24th of last month, our Department of Recreation leadership team successfully launched this program. And what a success it was. The positive feedback that I received from parents, especially mothers, was off the charts. They not only expressed just how much they and their daughters and sons enjoyed this new Art in the Park series, but also how much they both needed it as a positive emotional release. These parents specifically thanked Ms. Meg Wanan for the leadership role that she played in this program's success. While it was Mrs. Downtain and Mrs. Wanan who planned this event, because Ms. Downtain is currently working mostly from home while she is on medical leave, it was Mrs. Wanon who carried out the necessary organizing, directing, coordinating, and controlling functions that were indispensable to this program's launch and its success. I join those parents in expressing my appreciation to both Mrs. Downtain and Mrs. Wanon, and especially Mrs. Wanon, for putting together this event that brought so much joy to so many of our little ones and to their parents. Item 2 relates to resolution number 22-220 on tonight's agenda. Now, from previous experience, I know that this council as a collective group does not necessarily like to hear comments that challenge their point of view. However, since this resolution represents what I consider to be a harsh, direct, and public condemnation of me as the mayor of our town, I believe that it's only fair that I be given the opportunity to provide some sort of public response to this resolution. Therefore, I respectfully ask that the council not again attempt to gavel me into silence, and that the council allies not again stand up and walk out the council meeting as part of an organized attempt to prevent me from speaking. So I respectfully ask for that. It was with great surprise that when on Thursday, September the 8th, I received a copy of the agenda for tonight's council meeting and read the salacious, very unusual, and highly unorthodox council resolution number 22-220. This resolution was even more of a surprise to me since the council president and I had on that very same day had a 35 to 40-minute meeting during which we discussed items that would be on the agenda, and he did not even mention this resolution. This resolution relates to the second investigative report into the matter of our municipal property that my administration sold in error. This is a report for which the council authorized to be paid for by up to $10,000 of local taxpayers' money. Let me make it clear to the public. This resolution is simply the council's opinion of their interpretation of this report. This resolution has no impact on the actions that we have already taken. This resolution has no impact on the things that we have already done to correct the error, including having already regained full possession of the property that was sold in error. And this resolution has no impact on the positive system, procedural, and other corrective actions that we already have begun implementing in preparation for future sales of excess municipal property that we hope will bring in another $1 million. So what is this resolution about? I share with you just 3 of the reasons that the council published this opinion piece disguised as a resolution. Reason 1, this resolution is a 4-page Facebook-like expose, which the council is using in its attempt to explain to the public how and why it spent up to $10,000 of their money for a second, totally unnecessary inquiry into the matter of the municipal property that was sold in error. The evidence that the council's $10,000 inquiry was totally unnecessary is the fact that their inquiry essentially came to the same conclusion as the detailed inquiry that I conducted for free. And that conclusion was that this property was sold in error because of a combination of, number 1, errors in the system of the 3 different databases that were used to identify excess municipal property that was available for sale. And number 2, the perfect storm of administrative errors by the host of individuals involved. In fact, in its conclusion section, the council's $10,000 report says, and I quote, "We have concluded that there were multiple factors which led to the improper sale of the Monument Tower site at the 2021 municipal auction. They are characterized in 2 types: systemic deficiencies and individual errors." Reason number 2, some of the council believe that they could use this $10,000 taxpayer paid for report to accomplish one of their longtime objectives, that they have not been able to accomplish through the repeated pressure tactic that have been successfully used on me. And that objective is to force me to push the business administrator out of his job and replace him with someone of their liking. However, those who truly know me understand that I would never throw a municipal employee or anyone else, quote, under the bus in order to make my political bed easier with a majority on the council, or that I would never unjustly take an individual's job and livelihood or destroy a person's professional and personal reputation simply because of a one-time administrative error. Those who truly know and understand me know that such behavior is not a part of who I am. Reason number 3, this resolution is a 4-page Facebook-like expose, which the council uses in its attempt to explain to the public why, even though they claim that this $10,000 taxpayer paid for report provides them all of the clear and conclusive evidence that they need to fire the business administrator for cause, they have strangely declined to use their authority to do so. They have instead chosen to, quote, leave it up to the mayor to make whatever this action I deem necessary. You know, I am very aware of the fact that under our form of government, it has always been my responsibility as mayor to manage the municipal employee. And the council did not need a $10,000 report for them to tell me this in a 4-page resolution. The simple fact is that the council didn't take action to remove the business administrator because their $10,000 report did not provide them the legal cause to do so. They instead took the easy way out. They chose to publish an opinion piece disguised as a resolution and use this document to damage the professional and personal reputation of the business administration and to cast negative shadows of doubt on the professional and personal reputation of several other outstanding municipal employees. In fact, our municipal labor attorney read this $10,000 report and advised that their report did not provide the legal cause that they were seeking. In the case of the business administrator, action by the council to take his job and livelihood to destroy his professional and personal reputation simply because of a one-time administrative error would be equivalent to a person sending a person to prison for life for a first-time traffic ticket. It just doesn't make sense. The council opinion piece, disguised as a resolution, states that it's up to the mayor to answer the public on this matter of the property sold in error. Quite frankly, that is something that I have no problem in doing. In fact, I've spoken to the public on this matter several times, and that includes not only announcing to the public within a few days after I was informed that my administration had mistakenly sold a piece of municipal property, but also updating the public on the actions I had taken to get the property back and repeatedly taking responsibility for this administrative error that occurred on my watch as mayor. In closing, I challenge the council to be equally responsive to the public in explaining why they authorized up to $10,000 of the public's tax dollars for an investigation that was not needed and that produced nothing more than a Facebook crafted opinion piece disguised as a resolution. I end my response with the same commitment or same comment that the council ended their resolution. That is, this response shall constitute the official statement of the office of the mayor on this matter. That ends my comments. Thank you.
Approval of minutes. All members of the council have been given copy of the minutes of our regular meeting of August 22nd. May I have a motion to place them on the table for consideration?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second?
I'll sec-
Seconded by Mrs.
Second it.
Bucieri.
Sure.
Any corrections or additions? If not, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Vice President Bucieri?
Yes.
Member Fury?
Yes.
Councilmember Lynn?
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway?
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. I'll ask for a motion to open the floor to the public for comment on the agenda items only, limited to 3 minutes. May I have a
I'll
motion?
make a motion.
Motion made by, is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Seconded by Mr. Shortway. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You have any comments for the council? Invited to step forward. Give us your name, address, and please sign in.
Yes.
Good evening, Doreen Edwards, Highland Lakes.
Good evening, Ms. Levy.
Ordinance 22-16. Can you explain a little bit about that? Is that just in regards to this municipal buildings capabilities to use that cable vision service? Because I have to tell you, I live in Highland Lakes and I have nothing but problems with Wi-Fi, internet and whatnot. And I remember in the past that the cable companies had to come forth the town council and get permission to do business in the town. So I'm wondering if I hear there's another party interested coming into Sussex County already. I don't know if he's approached town council, presented any information, so I'm just curious about that, please. Yeah, I'll sit down. Oh, I have to sign it.
Yes.
This is an ordinance, and once we place it, we can begin to put it on the books. It's just for a first reading. We'll make sure that we have some type of a presentation where the public can ask questions.
Okay, well, just know that it would really be appreciative if another company is interested in coming into our town.
I don't think that's what it is.
No,
No.
I did speak to the gentleman, oh, I can't remember the name of the company now, it's slipped my mind. State Fair, he was there, and he was, saying that, he's approached several towns. So, maybe we could look at it, because I'm sure Highland Lakes is not the only area that has problems. Sure, it's quite throughout the town. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Patrick Rary, Vernon. Good, how are you?
Thank you.
Good. Your resolution 22-220 brought me out of retirement. The Township Council expressed its opinion that the business administrator's conduct and his failure to adequately supervise, manage, and conduct the municipal land sale, as detailed in the report, was the primary factor in the tower being sold erroneously. Resolution is filled with this kind of very specific language, 4 pages of it, I believe, that doesn't really say a whole lot objectively. I tried to read through it and understand it. So I'm confused about how you're measuring primary, secondarily, tertiary. What was the criteria? Did you set up a rubric? How is this developed? It doesn't seem to be out there. There are other questions about it. Were other employees involved? You can only assume in a real estate transaction, you're talking about upwards of a dozen to maybe 20 or so employees or other folks. So the resolution doesn't read like an unbiased document. It really reads like a vendetta against an enemy. And I cannot understand for the life of me how you can act as decent human beings in the public sphere. I've known most of you personally on some level, whether the pickup line at school or, a small business side. And you are decent human beings. I don't think there's a bad person here. But that's such a vindictive spirit in the center of our government and in the center of really all of your power. So I guess what I'm asking is, Vernon needs a dose of civility. The mayor stood up and took responsibility for this personally, apologized, and bringing up further action at this point not only continues to sever that civility, but I fear that it opens us up to litigation, and it will be very costly in the future for something that has already been discussed openly and addressed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, my hands don't write as pretty as my head is bald.
Yes.
I didn't use my 3 minutes.
Well, no,
Oh, no,
We-
one, yeah.
doesn't work that way. Tara.
It doesn't, I can't, didn't finish I didn't realize that, and I could speak to that.
Going to address it at the end of the meeting. Is there anyone else?
I have a couple people on Zoom,
Who?
a couple people.
Certainly.
Yes. Bill DeResta,
Mr. Durant.
Okay, am I unmuted?
yes.
Yes, you're unmuted.
Okay, so, welcome back after the holiday and, the 9/11 remembrance. I have to tell you that this report was a waste of $10,000. I'm sure, everyone on the council table knows that that is the case. This is a waste of our money. The mayor took credit or blame. Our police chief, who's the only positive guy in town that made $40,000 for the town last year, is set up a new system so it won't happen. Why we continued and went along and spent 10,000 got me. I think it's a waste, a total waste. As far as the question that woman had about the Highland Lakes area, everybody in town has terrible phone service and internet service. It's time that the town look towards expanding our horizons here. I got news for you. We're not in the 20th century now. We're in the 1900s with the service that we have. Mr. Lynch, you brought it up in March about the cell phone service. It's a joke. What are you guys going to do about that in a positive manner? If you have any ideas, that's it for now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jack McLaughlin,
Mr. McLaughlin.
Good evening, everyone. I can be
Good
heard, I would hope.
Yes.
Okay. I'm calling in to talk about the cable TV franchise renewal 2216, I guess. And I have a couple of comments. The first is the fourth whereas clause deals with a finding by the township that the company has substantially complied with its obligations and has committed to certain undertakings in the future. As I hear it, there is plenty of dissatisfaction, both with customer service from Altis, from the reliability of its internet service, from outages, and from service calls. That's as I hear it. I don't know what the members of the council have heard, but by the fourth whereas clause, it seems that we have not heard the same things. I want to turn to section 170-4, which is the grant of municipal consent. And the question is, in the fourth line, the township within its authorities extending this grant to public ways and public places. The question is, with 75 miles or so of private roadways throughout the town, plenty of private developments, is it understood that this grant extends to those properties, or does the company understand that that the township's grant is limited? That's a question. And then I know the ordinance was not considered at the August 22nd meeting. It was on the agenda. It was pulled without comment. And the revised ordinance addresses some concerns that I had regarding section 170-18 rates. The first concern, the concern I had in the first reading, in the first ordinance that didn't make it to reading, was a discount related to senior citizens. Now, I know that's been addressed in this revised ordinance, and that's been addressed in a different section. I can't locate it at the moment. But I'd like to talk about some of the limitations of what that really means. The discounts are authorized by legislation and specifies that the discounts, senior citizens have to meet certain income levels. And just so everyone knows, those income levels for a single person in 2022 is about 39,000, and for a married senior couple is about $45,000 in annual income.
Mr.
Pardon me?
McLaughlin,
Yes,
your time has expired.
okay,
You'll be able to bring this up at the latter part of the meeting? When you'll have an additional 5 minutes?
sure. I'll try to do that. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
I have Ann Larson.
Mrs. Larson?
Good evening. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
I just wanted to point out, in reference to 22-220, the mayor has made it clear he has chosen his crony over the taxpayers of Vernon Township. For myself, I am thankful that you spent the $10,000. I felt he was obfuscating the investigation, thinking he was going to have the big shoulders and take the blame for it, and we weren't going to look any further. He has proven that he is not looking out for the taxpayers. He is looking solely for his friends. Thank you.
Good. Anyone else?
I don't have any other hands up.
Anyone else here? Then I'll ask for a motion to
I'm,
close.
I'm sorry. I just got two hands up.
Okay,
Jessica Palladini.
Mrs. Palladini?
Good evening. I don't have much to say as far as spending the $10,000 one way or the other. I really didn't care. Although I think most of us knew that there were a number of employees responsible for doing this. What bothers me, though, is that you spent that money and now you're not taking action on it. That's the part that bothers me. You're passing the buck to somebody that you know will never take action, and he'll just sit there and he will criticize you and bash you meeting after meeting, and I'm getting so tired of hearing that mouth of his. But the point is, I don't fault you for spending the money, but I don't understand why you are not taking action when you most certainly have the authority to do so. That's all I want to say. Thank you for hearing my opinion.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Peg Stassi.
Mr. Stassi? Mrs. Stassi?
Here twice. I'll try this one.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Go ahead, Peg.
The reason that I'm having trouble hearing you, that's why I'm asking.
You're on, it seems like you're on two channels or two.
Yeah, that's better. Okay, I can hear you now. On 22-20 and 22-24.
Can we, any way we can clear this up?
I don't know which one. Yeah.
Can you shut one down, Mr. Stassi? You're on,
Yes.
you're coming along.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm having some audio problems. Is that better?
No, we still get an echo.
I could try. I might.
Hello? Mr. Stassi?
Oh. Mr. Stassi?
Is that better? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
I don't know why we're getting a problem.
Council President, maybe Mr. Stassi should just work on her problem. We should move on with business.
Is there anybody else on there? Look, is there anybody else?
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Is it better?
yes.
Okay. I really don't know what was wrong, but anyway, 22-20 and 22-4. I would like to know if you can explain what the deficiencies were that were uncovered with the report and exactly what has been done to prevent that in the future, as in 22-224, we have another tax sale coming up, and I just want to make sure that the error doesn't reoccur. That's number one. With 22-216, my question there is, according to what I've been told, the grant will only be paid after a bill has been presented that shows that it's paid. And I'm wondering, have Corey and Jessica already been paid on this, on the work they did on that grant? Now with 22-17, I am thrilled to see that you finally have come in line with the state standard. And my question would be, are refunds going to be issued to the people that have been wrongfully fined? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. With regards to the issue on the grant money, I spoke twice with the executive director, and he assured me that the way the township has handled this was completely in line with the way they have requested the submissions be made, and that the reimbursement is done once all of the documentation has been submitted to them and been approved, and which is what has done. So it's nothing out of the ordinary. And as far as.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And as far as the issue regarding the change in the vacant property ordinance, I can't speak to that because it hasn't been acted on yet, so. Thank you.
Council President, just so you know, Donnell is on.
Okay, thank you.
You need her to answer any
Thank
questions.
you. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Council President, Steve Dunlop,
Mr. Dunlop.
Williamsville Estates. I'm going to be very, very brief. I sit here week after week and listen to our mayor stick his thumb in the eye of the town council. It is tiring. I pointed out many fabrications that the mayor's made in the past. And once again, tonight we have the same thing. He disparages the council and says it's been the council's desire to remove the business administrators since the day they were seated. And I would just remind the mayor that it was part of his platform. I read his exact statements here in a previous meeting. The three things that he said to us, one of them was, I'm going to remove the business administrator. So before he starts making comments and disparaging the council, he might want to look in the mirror.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else?
I have Greg Thompson.
Mr. Thompson?
Hey, thank you.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to comment and follow up on the other woman said about the ordinance for the vacant and abandoned properties. I know you can't answer that yet, but I just want to state that, you know, I was a person in a town who bought a home that was abandoned for 15 years. I lived 2 houses down from it. I bought it in 2017. I fixed it up. I had to put a new septic in, new roof, new foundation practically on a section that was built without permits 20 years ago. And after I submitted all the permits, I received a vacant and abandoned fine, and I had to pay $2,000. It did jam up the closing, but I ended up having to pay it. was told that I would get a prorated refund. That's still being reviewed, even though I was told it would go through, and still waiting for an answer on that. But depending what happens with the ordinance and for your consideration, I just think that the people who are just trying to improve properties, who are local, didn't have a mortgage on the property, and attempted to do it with did it with permits and everything, and still received a fine when there's sections of the town that the vacant and abandoned ordinance don't even apply to, aren't fair. And hopefully there's some consideration for people with extenuating circumstances that there can be refunds given, or to better clarify the ordinance, as I think you're going to do tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I don't have any hands up.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just have a question, and forgive me, I was late, so. The $38,000 grant, did I misunderstand? Did you say that everything that we've done, Vernon's done, is legit?
Yes.
Is it safe to say that when Mr. Shortway and Mr. Fury said we could go in another direction, which was something that you had suggested with that money, we all knew that this was done already, correct?
Yes, but I checked on that, okay? The particular grant was for that issue, okay? The study of the bike trails and bike path and then walking paths.
Okay, so we hired them to do the work by applying for the grant that would pay, we would get reimbursed
Right.
after they receive the grant money. But we did pay for it already.
We've paid for it already.
The 30.
They are reimbursing us, yes.
Okay. So we have to,
So if you wanted,
what you tabled a month ago, if you don't say yes, you don't agree, we're not getting that money back and the taxpayer paid the 38, correct?
that's right.
So as far as, going other avenues or trying to do other things, that's impossible, it's already done.
Well, it's not impossible. Basically, what we would have to do is look at the information that the Highlands Council supplies the townships.
Mhm.
And if the area that, for example, the majority of the council is now looking to explore is included in what is available in terms of grant money, then we would ask the administration to apply for that type of a grant. And once it's been completed, the study has been completed, then we would be reimbursed for. Now,
Wouldn't it have been nice to know before we did the work?
it's not
Not
required, okay? I again asked the people from the Highlands Council
Mhm.
if it is necessary for the council to approve any submission by the township. And they said, not really, it's not necessary.
Okay. So what we
But
thought
they do-
had to be approved, you confirmed is not. So we didn't do anything wrong.
No, we didn't do anything.
Okay.
The reason why we have to approve it now is chapter 159 is because when the council approves the budget that is given to the mayor,
Mhm.
that includes appropriations as well as revenues. Now we have a new revenue. And the only way we can put that into the budget, because it must be classified, is by a chapter 159.
Okay.
Ms. Bright, am I correct in that statement?
Donna,
Yes, yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you very much. She's our financial.
I know. Okay, I just felt like we spent a lot of time a month ago trying to figure it all out.
You're right.
And now we all know.
Yeah.
It just would have been nice to know a month ago that what the objective was,
And the
how
objective,
it works, and that we could, because quite honestly, I even spoke with you, Natalie, is that what happens if you say no? You tabled it. If you say no, we're paying for it.
exactly. But right now, the list is being provided to the council of the various areas that could be applied for. For example, suppose there was a listing for playground equipment for, 0 to 8 years age, that type of thing, or equipment for space development for non-competitive sports, or something like that. Those types of submissions would then be made against what is being offered by the Highlands Council.
Okay.
Then it's up to the township to comply with the scope of work and provide the proof that the work was done. And once that work is done, then in fact, it's submitted to the Highlands Council, and then the township is reimbursed.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you sign in and state?
I did. Oh, okay. Can I have your name for the record, please?
Stephanie DeBrienza.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
I
No?
don't have any other hands up.
Seeing no one coming forward or no one on the skyboxes, may I have a motion to close the meeting to the
I'll make a
public?
motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Bucieri. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Shortway. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving to our resolutions. Resolution 22-220. Whereas in 2018, the Township of Vernon successfully sold at auction multiple parcels of property owned by the township. And whereas in 2020, Township Business Administrator determined to conduct another auction of township-owned property. Whereas the business administrator asked the township tax assessor to create a new list of township-owned properties to be sold at auction. And whereas the business administrator received the tax assessor's list of township-owned properties to be sold at auction and proceeded to communicate with Max Spahn Auction Services about conducting an auction property owned by the township. And whereas by email dated October 20, 2021, the business administrator was informed that the list of township-owned property to be sold at auction included property with township-owned tower sites and radio gear. And whereas the auction of township-owned property occurred in November 2021, municipal land sale, and the township received more than $1 million from the auction of township-owned property. And whereas following the auction, the township learned that it had sold property located at 6 Mondamin Road that included a township-owned radio tower and equipment to a private individual, Jay Feenel. And whereas the mayor conducted an investigation into how the township sold the Mondamin Tower and reported the findings of his investigation to the township council. And whereas the township council determined to conduct its own investigation into the sale of Mondamin Tower. And whereas the council authorized the law firm of Lavery, Salvaggi, Abramitis, and Cohen, PC, to conduct an investigation regarding the municipal land sale and the sale of the Mondamin Tower. And whereas Lavery, Salvaggi, Abramitis, and Cohen, PC, interviewed 14 municipal employees and officers, the mayor and private individuals. And whereas Lavery, Salvaggi, Abramitis, and Cohen reviewed hundreds of pages of documents. Whereas on June 28th, 2022, Lavery, Salvaggi, Abramitis, and Cohen delivered its investigative report to the council. And whereas the investigative report identifies multiple systemic deficiencies that resulted in the Mondamin Tower being sold to a private individual. And whereas the systemic deficiencies identified by the investigative report include how the municipal land sale was organized, developed, staffed, overseen, and implemented. And whereas the investigative report also identified multiple and individual errors committed by municipal employees and officers in connection with the municipal land sale. And whereas pursuant to NJSA 40:69A-36, the council is permitted to investigate matters of municipal importance and to express its opinion on same. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Township Council of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, expresses the following opinions concerning the municipal land sale and sale of the Monument Tower. After reviewing the investigative report, the Township Council is of the opinion that the municipal administrator failed to adequately supervise, manage, and conduct the municipal land sale. The Township Council expresses its opinion that the municipal business administrator had multiple opportunities to prevent the sale of the Monument Tower, but chose not to act on those opportunities, whether by acts of commission or omission. The Township Council expresses its opinion that the business administrator's conduct and his failure to adequately supervise, manage, and conduct the municipal land sale as detailed in the investigative report was the primary causal factor in the Monument Tower being sold erroneously. The Township Council expresses its opinion that it has no confidence in the business administrator to perform the acts required of the Township Business Administrator. NJSA 40:69A-36 subsection E allows the Township Council to remove any municipal officer for cause. The Township Council believes that cause exists to justify its removal of the business administrator for the reasons set forth above and as contained in the investigative report. However, the Township Council recognizes the disruption of the township which could ensue if it were to effectuate the removal of the township administrator, and recognizes that the mayor is the person to whom should fall the responsibility of remedying this error. The mayor may terminate the business administrator at his discretion pursuant to NJSA 40:69A-43 subsection C. The township mayor has provided the mayor with a copy of this investigative report and informed the mayor of its opinion regarding the business administrator's conduct that resulted in the sale of the Monument Tower and its lack of confidence in the business administrator. While the business administrator serves at the mayor's discretion, the mayor has informed the Township Council that he will not terminate the business administrator's employment, but instead has offered to discipline the business administrator by suspending the business administrator's pay for 32 days. The mayor has also informed the Township Council that the business administrator will accept and not challenge the mayor's discipline. While the Township Council believes that the mayor's response is inadequate, it will not seek to impose its will on the mayor, nor will it inject itself into the personal matter. Rather, the Township Council fully and completely places the responsibility and ownership of this matter on the mayor. The investigative report concerns the sale of township property and was paid for by township dollars. The mayor has requested that the Township Council not release to the public the investigative report, which the Township Council interprets as a request by the mayor to keep the matter hidden from the public. The Township Council will not agree to keep the investigative report from the citizens of Vernon or the public. The Township Council hereby adopts the findings of the investigative report and releases the report. In conclusion, the Township Council is appalled at the undeniable debacle caused by the business administrator during the auction process. Failure to heed the warnings by 2 department heads to postpone the auction and to delegate tasks with the appropriate follow-up to ensure the safety and well-being of residents and municipal assets during the auction process is inexcusable and leads to allegations by the public of incompetence and recklessness on behalf of the entire administration. The council no longer has confidence in the business administrator to manage municipal projects at this critical time in the township's history. The township also recognizes that the council initiated action would serve to bring further disruption to the township. The council charges the mayor failed to conduct a proper and thorough investigation into this matter and administer the appropriate discipline upon the business administrator as a result of his recklessness and failure to properly perform his duty. Having made its position known to the mayor and the public on this matter, the council will leave it to the mayor to answer to the public. This resolution shall constitute the official statement of the council on this matter. I ask for a motion to place this resolution on the floor for action.
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Bucieri. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Shortwood. May we have a roll call vote?
No, it's Mr. Lynch. Mr. Lynch.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lynch. I'm sorry. May we have a roll call vote?
Yes. Vice President Bucieri? Yes. Councilmember Fury?
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch?
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway?
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto?
Yes.
Motion
Yeah.
carries.
We have the consent agenda 22-16, and chapter 159 resolution requesting approval of revenue and appropriation amending the 22-22 budget as a revenue appropriation of $38,000. 22-21, change in custodian for petty cash funds. Resolution 22-22. 2, refund overpayment, block 28, lot 2, way on the tree farm LLC. Resolution 22-2223, refund overpayment, block 526, lot 56, Jenny Frank. Resolution 22-2224, authorizing a municipal tax sale. Resolution 22-225, authorizing a lease contract with Pitney Bowes for a postal machine utilizing Sourcewell Cooperative. If anybody has any requests to have any of these resolutions separated from the body, please let me know and I will do so. Otherwise, may I have a motion to have the consent agenda put on the floor for consideration?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mr.
Fury.
Fury. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Shortwood. May we have a roll call?
Yes. Vice President Bucieri? Yes. Councilmember Fury?
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch?
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway?
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you.
Council President, may I have the floor for a moment?
Certainly may.
As most of you know, on August 22nd, we had a resolution and resolution was 22-208, and that was for the Indovita LLC to ask permission to open up a cannabis retail store along Route 94 at 218 Route 94. Now, most of you know that I am in support of cannabis retail here in Vernon Township with the provisions that were made in the ordinance that there would be only 3 retailers and 3 cultivators. Now, you also know, remember that I voted no against this. And the reason why I voted no is very simply because the state of New Jersey has legalized marijuana for retail sale 2 months ago. Everybody is still feeling this all out. How is this going to connect in our community and everything else? They were supposed to come before us and give us a presentation. They canceled that presentation, and then just before the night of the resolution, they gave us a 5-minute presentation on what was going on. Mr. Burke and Mrs. Burke, Yojinder and Valkyrie Burke. I just started to feel like things were getting pushed down the road a little bit too quickly for me. So that's why I voted no against this. I would rather vote no and not make a mistake, because I just feel like this is something that we shouldn't be making a mistake on. Well, some of the questions that I had is that a previous applicant had the same address of this, and it was determined that it was not going to happen for the other applicant. I also come to find out on Friday that Mr. Verk and Mrs. Verk have already been granted a provisional license from the state. So at this point, Mr. Council President, I would like to place Resolution 2208 back for consideration, and I make that as a motion.
I don't know if we can replace the same ordinance, or sorry, the same resolution back for consideration. Can we? I know we can go for a motion to reconsider.
There can be a motion to reconsider.
If on the night that on the meeting that was taken care of.
It doesn't necessarily have to occur on that night. It can
Okay.
occur at a different meeting. If a motion to reconsider is made, there would be required 2 steps. The motion to reconsider would have to get a majority vote, and then the motion being reconsidered would have to get a majority vote. But I believe that if Mr. Lynch is asking for a motion to reconsider, that's appropriate.
Are you asking for a motion?
Yes, I am asking for a motion.
And I'll second the motion to reconsider the resolution.
A motion's been made to reconsider 22-208
208, yes.
and by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second?
I second it, yes.
This is on the motion to reconsider. Roll call vote.
Sure. Vice President Bucieri? No. Councilmember Fury?
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch?
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway?
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto?
No.
Motion carries.
Now, on the motion itself, may I have a motion to have that placed on the floor?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch,
And I'll second that motion.
seconded by Mr. Fury. Is there any questions or comments on this? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Sure. Vice President Bucieri? No. Councilmember Fury?
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch?
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway?
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto?
No,
Motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you, Council President.
You're welcome. Ordinance 22-16.
This is the cable TV ordinance.
This is the first reading, right?
Yes.
I'll make the motion to introduce it.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch to introduce ordinance 22-16.
I'll second it.
Second by Mrs. Fury, an ordinance of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, to repeal and replace Chapter 170 of the Municipal Code entitled Cable Television and Communications, and to grant municipal consent for the operation of a cable television system within the township of Vernon, New Jersey to CSC TKR LLC. And I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Schwartz, Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury.
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch.
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway.
Yes.
President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. This time I'll ask for a motion to open the meeting for a public comment for 5 minutes on any item.
Well, we missed, we're
We have two
missing
more to go.
22, 17,
17 and
17 and 18.
Oh, I'm sorry. Page. Yes. Ordinance 22-17, an ordinance to amend and supplement the code of the Township of Vernon, the abandoned properties, unfit buildings. I asked you to take care of it. You took care of it, and then I forget to call on it. There you go. May I have a motion to introduce 22-7?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Fury. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Shortwood. This is considered an amendment, so is there a second reading required or?
Yep.
Okay, all right, so this will be considered the first reading.
Yes, first reading. Yep.
All right, thank you. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Vice President Bucieri.
Yes.
Councilmember Fury.
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch.
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway.
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance 22-18, an ordinance extending lease agreement between the Vernon Township Board of Education and the Township of Vernon, and sublease agreement between the Township of Vernon and the Dog Owners Gathering Society of Vernon Township for certain unimproved real property identified on the official tax map of the Township of Vernon as Block 308, Lot 2, Old Block 133, Lot 2.05. May I have a motion to introduce 22-18?
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 22-18. I'll
Motion
second
made
that.
by Mr. Shortway, seconded by Mr. Lynch. Roll call, please.
President Bucieri.
Yes.
Councilmember Fury.
Abstain.
Councilmember Lynch.
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway.
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Not complete. Now, moving to our public comment. Asking for motion to open the floor to the
I'll make
public
a motion that we open the floor to public comment.
for 5 minutes on any topic. Okay. Motion made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a
second it.
second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mrs. Bucieri. Roll call, please.
Sure. Vice President Bucieri.
Yes.
Councilmember Fury.
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch.
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway.
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Floor is open to the public on any comment the public wishes to comment on. And even the Giant game, if you want to talk.
Doreen Edwards, I don't
Yes, Ms. Edwards.
change my topic that I'm going to speak about. It's been on my mind for years and years. How many of you have traveled? And it's easier for me to explain it this way. Coming up Barrett Road from, say, 94 from Warwick, coming up and you're driving around and then you come to a quick corner and then you have to, there's a stop sign right there. It intersects with Way Yonder Road. That is a bad intersection. And in winter, and have, heavy snow falling or bad conditions, very difficult sometimes even to see that sign. I would like to see one of the signs that is across the street, the flashing yellow with the person, well, I like to see a flashing red, yellow, whatever you want to put, stop sign there. And I don't even live in the neighborhood, but I'm just saying on
I
a
do.
safety area, that is
I live right there. You're gonna have to put the sign in yourself
why.
because I don't want to talk to the neighbors that are complaining that the sign is flashing in their window.
There is.
Believe me, it's been talked about there already. Honest to God. I know exactly what you mean. I'm always hearing tires screeching.
Right,
I'm always.
very scary, yeah.
I've seen accidents in 30 years. I've seen about a dozen accidents over there.
Maybe we could see about putting an advanced sign.
You know what? That would be a great idea.
A warning sign that a stop area is.
Something,
Yeah.
because it has been for years, I wanted to mention
I'm
that.
glad you brought this up because that's exactly what's needed is a warning sign ahead of time. Stop sign up ahead.
Perhaps the mayor can look into this for.
Or some type of good reflective sign, it doesn't have to be flashing then, so that, you know, so the neighbors.
I know which one you're talking about and they're really good.
Right.
And everybody that has them near their house complains about how bright they are.
Can't win, huh?
No,
Can't win. Okay, and maybe as we go around town, maybe we could look for a few other areas that might be a good idea to put something like that in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else? Anything from, oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Garrett.
money's worth out of retirement today, huh?
Yeah, if you're bringing me out of retirement, I better make some use of it. So I have just a question and I don't expect an answer right now because I know how this goes. And then I have an idea. So I hope you'll listen to both. We just passed another anniversary of 9/11 and it's always sad. And we all pay tribute to our first responders. It's affected so many of us personally. And I was really troubled in talking to some friends at Glenwood Pochuck to hear that Kevin Duffy was suspended from service. When I sat up there in Dan Kadish's unexpired council term, I always made it a point to pay attention to what emergency services were doing in town.
May I caution you, please? We can't comment on this. It's a personnel matter.
I'm not,
And I understand your feelings and it's, I'm asking you to just to reconsider whether or not you want to make the comments. If you wish to, go ahead.
appreciate that. Thank you. I would just, I guess I'm looking for some type of public reason or acknowledgement for that sort of thing. And even if it doesn't come now, at least some awareness. I think it's fair to ask as taxpayers what happened as you just voted to do. And I'll leave that alone. Thank you. The last thing I wanted to talk about is the price of eggs, because they went from $1.50 a dozen in 2018 to about $5 a dozen now. And I know because my boys are 11 and we all try to eat as much protein as possible. It's very expensive.
Eggs are expensive.
Yeah, they are. So
$3.89 at Acme for jumbos.
yeah, well, whenever possible, I buy, the 30 packs, but it adds up quick.
I know.
So the late Councilman Kadish, one of his pet projects was the chicken ordinance. And I'm very sorry to bring this up because I know some feathers might get ruffled. I got it.
Yeah. Tip your waitresses.
It was solid work, but that was 2018 and that was 2019. And I think that the ordinance balanced personal responsibility with the neighbors' concerns about roosters. But unless you're in a lake community and you enjoy the HOA restrictions, if you live in the rest of Vernon, you don't really care what your neighbors have. So I'll ask you to look at Maine's right to grow or right to food laws that they passed as an amendment. And basically, you were all elected or appointed on the premise of limited government, and I respect that. So one of the things that would really help folks would be to be able to grow more of their own food or raise more of their own food. Now, I don't want pigs in my backyard, but I don't like marijuana either, but I don't care if my neighbors have it. It doesn't matter. No skin off my nose. So if you can look at some family sustaining laws, how they can be adjusted or changed, I would just ask you to go back to that chicken ordinance and see if you can lighten it up a little bit to maybe put a few bucks back in Vernon families' pockets, whether it's through chickens or your rooster here and there, and maybe somebody will bring you eggs. I don't know. But thank you very much for your service.
Thank you. Thank you.
Comments. Good. That was entertaining.
You got it.
Anyone else?
Hi, Steve Dunlap again. I wish I would have known we're going to discuss the marijuana ordinance. I'm not quite familiar with the rules, but I think it would be better for the public if it were put back on the agenda for a following meeting so people could speak to it before it was voted on. But that's not what happened tonight. It's been voted on because it was reintroduced. There's been a lot of talk over the last few months about the tremendous revenue that it's going to bring into the township. And someone posted something recently which got me thinking and got me looking into it. And from what I understand, the median price spent in a retail marijuana store is about $200 per visitor. The number's been thrown around in the past by our mayor, former council, about $5 million a year. Well, 2% of $5 million is $100,000. One council member mentioned we could put half of it to paving roads. $50,000 might get you from here to the pavement. It's not the windfall that everybody talks about. A previous council member talked about the possible need for additional policemen or additional training or being able to ascertain if people are impaired. Quite frankly, I don't care. If people want to do heroin and fentanyl, and I really don't care what people do.
It's illegal.
But I don't care. It's all poison to me. If they want to do it, that's fine. The voters vote, and I'm really speaking to the council president, but thanks for the
I
input.
apologize for interrupting you.
I appreciate the input, but that represents 25,000 transactions. The $5 million at $200 a pop, which works out to 480 transactions a week going in and out of a parking lot next to a bike shop, next to Mountain Creek, for us to realize $100,000. It's not much money. So just a point I would bring. Another issue, I would hope that one of your colleagues, Councilman Fury, would respond to this during comments. But at a recent meeting, there was a discussion about sewers and about septics and about pumping septics. And Councilman Fury started his comments talking about we could buy pump trucks. Later, Ann Larson called in and made a comment about this. And Council President Rizzuto, you kind of chastised her and said, nobody's talking about buying trucks. I was asked about it later, and I said, no, I didn't hear that. Of course, the sound system often is awful in here. I went back and watched the YouTube video, and indeed, Councilman Fury did open his comments with suggesting that the town could buy pump trucks.
And perhaps I owe Mrs. Larson.
I'm sure you
apologies.
I'm sure you didn't hear it, just like I didn't hear it. But the person that I know did hear it is the man that spoke the words. And I would have thought that he would have interjected and said, excuse me, Council President, I did say that. But that never happened. So I'd just like to read two comments. Ann Larson's comment herself. What kind of guy stands quietly by allowing someone to insist he did not say what he obviously did say without writing the record? If he really felt that way, why not stop and correct Town Council President? My comment was, he, Mike Fury, did indeed say it and should have been man enough to interject and admit as much. I did not hear it during the meeting, during the sound system in the municipal building, but he damn sure said it and should have owned it. His silence does not surprise me in the least. And I would hope, I would trust that the councilman might explain why he sat idly by and let you chastise her, because you did, you shut her down and didn't want to have that conversation suggesting that it never been said, and it was. I thank you so much for your indulgence. Is
there anyone else?
I have Bill.
Bill, Mr. DeResta,
Mr. DeResta, yes.
Mr. DeResta.
Yes, I wanted to come back and tell Mr. Lynch, thanks for coming back on. I was very disappointed when you guys voted down that marijuana shop. So thank you, Mr. Lynch. That's it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
I don't have any. Well, here, now I do. Jesse Palladini.
Oh, Mrs. Palladini.
Yes, hi again. I just want to say a couple of things. I don't necessarily criticize the action that you took tonight on the trail grant. Because I think you were boxed into a corner and had to take that action. I want to clarify a couple of things. You said you spoke with the director. Well, I spoke with Director Ben Spinelli as well as Netta, who called me today from the Highlands Council. And there are a couple of things that are not completely in line, as you said. First of all, there was no resolution of approval by the council to apply for the $38,000.
Okay, may I stop 1 second, please?
Yeah, sure.
According to Mr. Spinelli, that resolution, that enabling or legislation, enabling law, whatever you want to call it, is not required by them. It might be required by the township, provided it's in our policies, or if it's not, in the scope of the work of the administration, they can deem it necessary that they can apply for a grant under the particular areas that the Highlands Council says grant money is available in. And that the only reason why we are acting on the grant money is, as I explained earlier, the council must approve a budget, and the budget includes appropriations as well as revenues. And this is an unanticipated revenue, hence a home must be made for it. And that's why we are taking this action.
Okay, well, you are correct to say that the Highlands Council does not require a resolution of approval.
Right.
But in a municipal government, there always has to be council approval to spend money. So are you saying that the consultants themselves can decide to spend $38,000 to pay themselves to write?
No, I'm not saying anything like that. And my stopping you was simply to explain a point you may consider. I'm not getting into a dialogue with you, Mr.
No, you're well taken that the Highlands Council did not require it, but anytime the Township of Vernon spends any money or applies for any grant, there must be a resolution of approval, number one. Number two, the whole discussion that you had at the last meeting and the one before that was totally deceptive. The mayor, Mr. Fury, and Mr. Shortway were not forthright with you. That whole conversation about can you direct the money? Yes, no. No, of course you cannot redirect the money. And lastly, I want to say that this whole business of putting it into the Clean Communities Fund, what is that all about? I think it's about playing games with money. Clean Communities is not something that's a fund that you could add to, take away from. It's simply money that the state of New Jersey gives you for a very specific purpose. So if you took money out of your general fund to pay consultants without even a resolution of approval for them to do it, that money should come from the town budget, not Clean Communities Fund, and then put back into a Clean Communities. I think that is misappropriation of funds. And I think you need to look at that very carefully.
Quite the contrary, I spoke again with the executive director on that, and where the mayor chose to fund a particular project was from that account. And when the money was given to the township for reimbursement, it was replaced or reimbursed in that account. I defer to Mrs. Bright as to whether or not that is an acceptable practice. I don't know. I doubt if it's considered as misappropriation.
I don't need to defer to Ms. Bright, because I've already spoken with the executive director of Clean Communities.
Okay,
And that money should go into the Clean Communities Fund. That's all I'm saying on that matter.
it did. It went into the Clean Communities Fund.
Right. I understand that. It should have nothing to do with a trail grant, nothing. And lastly, I just want to say that I'm glad that you voted as you did on the abandoned properties ordinance. Thank you, Mr. Rizzuto, for bringing that up and looking into it and taking the action that you did. It's
Thank you.
unfortunate that a respectful person like Sean Mazur, however, had to be dragged through the gutter for 2 years before this action was taken. So thank you for what you did in that regard, Mr. Rizzuto. And thank every council member for voting in the affirmative on changing that. That's it.
Thank you.
Peg DeStassi.
Ms. DeStassi,
Hopefully this is better this time.
there you go.
Oh, good. I wanted to discuss the cannabis store. There have been statements made that quote unquote, 70% of the populace vote legalized the sale of cannabis. That's true, but they did not legalize the sale of cannabis in a store in Vernon. They're two different issues. I'm requesting that the option of having cannabis stores in Vernon be put in on our ballot in November for our residents to vote on. Do they want a cannabis store in their municipality? Just because 70% of the state's population agreed to legalize cannabis doesn't mean that the residents of Vernon want a store in their town. I believe that we have a beautiful country, Sleepy Valley, and do we want that disturbed by the influx of people that will be coming here to buy cannabis? I don't think that's why most people moved to Vernon. I think they moved here for the sleepy, quiet country lifestyle. So again, my request is that the council consider putting on the ballot in November the right for the Vernon citizens to vote on, do they want to actually have a store in Vernon? And I also want to thank you for addressing the illegal, issue on the, sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
Thank you,
Non-developed properties. I think that needed to be addressed. So thank you very much. And
quite
thank
welcome.
you for serving.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
I don't have any other hands.
Oh,
Hello,
hello.
I just have a question, Stephanie.
Name again, I'm sorry.
Stephanie DeBrian.
Ms. DeBriant.
I'm wondering, forgive me if I misunderstood this. You asked to reconsider the ordinance for the store, correct?
It wasn't an ordinance, it was a
Sorry.
resolution.
Sorry. May I ask what made you do that? What changed your mind?
I think Mr. Lynch explained his
I think you
position.
did. I may have missed. it.
Yes, I did explain it, that there were a lot of things that I needed answers for, and
you got them.
I got
You feel better about it. So then what happens next? You bring this up at the next meeting, vote again?
It's been voted
on tonight.
Okay, sorry, I'm a little,
No, it's been voted
lot
on.
going on.
There's a procedure that you can follow in terms of handling a resolution that has been turned down. A motion to reconsider. Okay. Motion to reconsider is an action where the a person brings up, the issue can only be brought up by the prevailing party.
Okay.
Meaning the party, the group that was
Majority.
the
I know, I'm
majority.
getting to know a lot. I learn as I go.
Yes.
So I
So the
understood
the prevailing group at that point was the people that voted it down.
Right.
Included myself, Mrs. Bucieri, and Mr. Lynch. So the ability to have a motion, to raise a motion to reconsider can only be brought up by one of the three of us. However, can be seconded by any member of the council, whether or not they voted with the prevailing party
Right.
or not. So Mr. Lynch made, as a member of the prevailing group, he wanted it reconsidered, he brought it up, the motion was made, seconded it, and that issue was voted on. So it is being reconsidered.
Okay,
And the second vote was on the issue itself, whether or not we would pass the approval of the property for for the cannabis.
do they know this?
And that was
Probably.
again,
I get that.
that was again made by, I believe, Mr. Lynch, and it was seconded by Mr. Fury, and it was right? Yes. Yeah,
Mhm.
and it passed.
Okay, I
So,
just want to make sure I understand.
yeah, it's a, according to, Robert's rules, that's the way you run a meeting, and that's the way it's handled.
Okay, I'm learning. I don't pretend to know it all.
Oh.
Last question.
Certainly.
As far as Mr. Volkner goes, that resolution was voted on, correct?
Yes.
And when does that take place? Effective immediately or
It's not up to
Curious.
us.
not up to you? Okay, all right, thank you.
For anyone else?
I only have Mr. DeResta's hand, but he already spoke.
Seeing no one else,
I'll make the motion. We close public comment.
motion is made to close the floor to the public. Is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Mr. Shortway. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion opposed, motion carries. Council comments. Mr. Lynch,
Thank you.
start at this side.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Michelle Fountain and her staff for providing a 9/11 memorial on September 10th. I've been a firefighter now for 46 years. And one of the things that we do as firefighters is we never forget those who have gone before us. And we have 3 words that we say, and it's written on one of our fire trucks up in Highland Lakes, and it's called "Lest We Forget." And we put that down as soon as we got the fire truck. I would like to ask if the mayor can ask the Recreation Committee to set up a September 11th committee to have a more substantive remembrance on September 11th itself, the day, or a day closest to it. A lot of firefighters take September 11th with a little bit more remembrance than most holidays that we have, because of the 343 brothers and sisters that went before us, lest we forget. And I would like to make Vernon Township one of those places in Sussex County where people will come to remember what happened on that day. And everybody knows what they were doing and what they did that day. And I think that for everything that happened that day, we could take 45 minutes to 1 hour, one time a year, to remember these people. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Shortwood?
I have no comment. Yeah, just briefly, I want to echo Brian's, the ceremony on Saturday was well put together. I want to thank the mayor for doing an outstanding job, for remembering, the date. Also, first responders and people recognizing all those. I think the agenda was very well put together. It was pretty impressive. Also wanted to recognize all the people that put together the street fair on Saturday. It was the same day. They did an excellent job and represented Vernon very well. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Mrs. Bashir.
I just want to echo what Mr. Fury, Mr. Lynch said about the September 11th memorial program. It was put together very well by our recreation director, Michelle Downtain, and those who participated. There were several band members from our high school, it's really nice when we're able to do community things like that with our students and see their talent. And actually the bagpipers were another family, McCann family from Vernon. And I think that's just a great tradition to continue. There is nothing more solemn than hearing Amazing Grace on the bagpipes, and they, really blessed us in hearing that and commemorating those who lost their lives. It was a moving ceremony, and I was proud of our town that we did that, and all those that participated. It was a nice program, and I echo also the street fair. The Vernon Chamber put that on, and it looked like a lot of people enjoyed it. A lot of great vendors and beautiful weather. So it was just two bright spots in our community this weekend. Oh, and I have one more comment. I touched base with the school board president, and she will now be the liaison committee chairman. Martin O'Donnell is no longer the chairman of liaison committee. So we will be discussing the fuel services shared agreement again, Mr. Volker and Mayor. So I'm going to reach out to her and have a conversation, but she did indicate that she's open to talking about that.
Thank you. My comments are very brief. I too echo the Mr. Lynch's request for a more substantial program. And it brings to mind something that's very, very, not troubling, but just a matter of time. That many of our youth right now were not around when this occurred.
Yep.
And hence, they really don't know what happened. They also don't know, many of them, what happened on December 7th, 1941. And yet we've had almost the same number of people who were lost on December 7th, 1941, were lost in the attack on Twin Towers. So I think this is a great opportunity for the township to employ its ability to instruct as well as to enforce a program that would help provide knowledge to many of the children who say, why is this date so important? And when I see the cable TV channels kind of softening what they're showing because they're afraid of what people might think, I think that's wrong, because the whole reason why it's being recorded, because it is so serious. It was so hostile. It was so definitely inhuman. Just like the 6 million people that were killed in the Holocaust during World War II. I don't know if people ever go to Washington and go to the Holocaust Memorial and take the trip and see some of the horrendous things that were found. And yet, lest we forget, also applies to that. Because how we treat each other, man's inhumanity to man, is the only way we're going to be able to move and become a better township, better county, and better people. I had the pleasure Saturday of attending the street fair, and I had the very great honor of very great pleasure of meeting our new school superintendent. Be it he is interim, Mr. Russ Rogers. And I was very impressed by the man's ability to, I would say, relate, thank you, and also see and come to the essence of a problem, see what the essence of a problem was. And I'm hoping that as a council president, I'm going to be able to see if I can't become a little more involved in terms of meeting with the gentleman and expressing the council's point of view on certain areas, as well as understanding the troubles that prevail with the Board of Education. Having now experienced both, as Mrs. Bucieri, we can hopefully gain a little different perspective and pass it on. But I was very pleased to meet him, and he had a definite commitment to education. More than that, he had a commitment to the children and the employees, the teachers, the faculty of our system. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Mr. Shortway. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Fury. In favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.